Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Clinic Growth Secrets, where we teach you how to get more patients, make more profit per patient, and keep them as long as humanly possible. Guys, we have a titan in the industry with us today. You guys are going to get a lot of value from this gentleman on the show. I've actually been excited to have him on. We met at an event, which later translated into this show because I know he's going to bring you guys a lot of value for your practices. Now, before we get into anything fun and entertaining, quick reminder of the fee. The fee is very simple. If you get value from the show, you learn something that helps your bottom line, grows the business. Make sure you share the show with a colleague, a friend, a loved one. We do grow organically. We don't spend the first 20 minutes of our podcast talking about stuff we don't use. So we have to grow organically, which means that we grow by you sharing the message. If we do a good job, share it forward. If we don't do a good job, then don't share it. It's a value exchange economy. I want to welcome you and welcome our guest, again, a titan in the industry. This gentleman I actually met at UAC, the Ultimate Achievers Club, and he is currently the new VP of Sales at Aspen Theralight. He's consulted with bright minds in the field of healthcare, such as Dr. Oz, Tony Robbins. He's been on different shows promoting his stuff. This guy is the real deal. Please welcome Mark Murdock to the show. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate
Man,
it.
I'm excited to have you, brother. Talking with you is always good energy at these events, and it's about time we got one of these shows together. You told me at UAC that you're like, hey, man, one of my things that I like to do is I like to go and look out around the world, see what other healthcare technologies people are using them, and then bring them to the United States, right?
Yeah.
So you've got a diverse background in doing this stuff, but I mean, where does the journey begin? You've coached as basketball, you've made amazing athletes. Now you're doing a lot of sales, getting this equipment in front of different people. I mean, where does your journey begin, man?
Yeah, really in college coaching, man, I think some of your most successful business people are people that were coaches at some level, right? Because there's three kinds of entrepreneurs. There's the true entrepreneur who just loves the up and down roller coaster of lose a million, make a million craziness. Then you have the manager leaders who are basically coaches. They connect with people, build teams, and structure those. And then you have the artists, right? The people who use their hands and their brains to create things. And I'm not the entrepreneur. I don't like the risk. I want to minimize my risk. I'm not an artist. I don't have any special skill. I'm a manager leader. I'm a coach. So that kind of is where I fit into this world. But it really started with coaching. I think, when I talked, I said that I coached at the collegiate level men's basketball for 17 years. Most college coaches retire and have never coached a single All-American. That's just that it's just a numbers game, right? You only have five All-Americans every year and five second team and so 15 All-Americans out of 360 schools. That's not many All-Americans to go around. And by the time I finished coaching for 17 years, I had 9 in 17 seasons. I wasn't a great coach, but I think I had a skill at finding stuff that most people didn't gravitate to quickly, or finding players. If we look at players and technology, the same, that most people don't instantly realize is going to be big or is going to be great, or to see past the flaws and see the potential. It was part of the reasons. And then to take them and develop them is obviously part of it. But like I said, most of those guys, those 9 All-Americans, were All-Americans the day they walked in the door. They just hadn't been polished yet. And most people overlook them because they had flaws, certain flaws that most people think, well, they're not going to be that great in the long run. Same thing in technology. That led me into, when I got out of coaching in 2010, really my best friend and business partner found whole body cryotherapy and thought it was something. And then I looked at it and I agreed it was something. So he was the impetus for that. I got to be the public face of it because I'm an extrovert and high energy, and he's an introvert and doesn't want to be in front of people. But he really gets the credit for starting it. So we started the whole body cryotherapy industry in the United States. That led me to 2015 to doing the same thing for whole body light therapy. There had been lasers in this country for 50 years, but nobody really taken what we call medical grade whole body light. There was some whole body beauty and aesthetics light out there that was super, super weak. But that really launched that second technology. And now I'm on my third technology that I've just bought the distributorship, which is the world's first fully automated robotic physiotherapist. So spotting things that most people may pass off or may think there's something to, but they don't want to do the chipping and the mining and the polishing of that product and get it ready to market and really launch it, is kind of where I like to dig my hands in the dirt. And I think it's just carried over from coaching into business. I mean, I could write a book, everything I know in business, I learned from coaching college athletes, and it'd probably be a bestseller.
That's amazing. You're a true optimist, perhaps. You see the things that people are like, ah, no, I'm not so much, but
Oh
I
no,
feel
you
it.
know, I've been called that before. I'm like Admiral James Stockdale. He said when he was in POW camp in Vietnam, the first people that didn't make it out of POW camp were the pessimists because they went in there like, we're never getting rescued. This is where we're going to die. And they did. The second
Mhm.
people not to make it were the optimists because they're like, oh, this is going to be fine. It's going to be easy. And we're going to get rescued. And then when it wasn't easy and they didn't get rescued, then they died. The only ones that made it out were the realists, right? People said, you know what? We are going to make it out of here eventually, but this is really going to suck and it's going to be hard and it's going to be brutal, but we will make it out. So I think I'm a really energetic realist because I don't think there's probably anything I can't work my way out of, but it doesn't mean I think everything's going to work out fine every time. My
Right.
goal is to hope for the best, but always plan for the worst. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? I'm going to plan for that and let's go forward on that. So kind of a
Well,
realistic optimist.
it's genius, really, because I think most people get stopped at the door with their pessimism, right? And they're just like, oh, it'll never work, never work, never work, and we see what happens there. So you've essentially working with these athletes. Did you want to get into the medical field to like better help the athletes that you were serving? Is that like part of like how you saw this coming to life and being able to beta test some of this stuff?
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time, but the groundwork was always there because I was really intrigued with what the human body can tolerate before it falls over. Like,
Hmm.
you know, like my last coaching job was at Adams State in Alamosa, Colorado, and we were the second highest gym in the country by altitude, right? And I said, okay, well, that should be a supreme advantage for us, right? Because altitude you can't adjust to in a few days. It takes a couple of weeks to get your blood chemistry adjusted and hemoglobin adjusted. So we wanted to run people to death and play really, really fast-paced game because that was a huge competitive advantage. But I became enamored when I was there with, how much can a human body actually tolerate? And people say, well, I coach, I can't run another lap. And I'm like, really? The human body will actually pass out when it's had enough. So if you haven't passed out yet, your body still has more to give.
Mm.
That's a little hard to the line, but the point was, hey, we're not quitting until somebody throws up or until somebody gets close to passing out because that's the actual line. And it's funny when you have athletes that, coach, if I can't run one more down and back or I'm not gonna make it. And 30 minutes later, you're still running down and backs. And they're not passed out yet. So I think it laid the groundwork for what can the human body really do? How far can it take? So that personal journey, I kind of started doing marathons. I was like, okay, what's marathons all about? I thought marathons were about the dumbest thing you could ever do as a human being. I had no interest in it. And then once I had a back issue, my my orthopedic surgeon said, you need to start running and get some movement in your hips and back. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound right. She's like, no, trust me. And I was like, I ran a mile and then I ran 3 miles and I just started getting bored. I was like, well, I'll do 5. I said, I wonder if I could do 10 miles, right? And then I started running marathons. So it was just all about this journey of how far can you push the human body and how far can it go? And the cool thing about that is I found out that the real magic is in suffering. It's not the first 18 miles of a marathon. It's the last 5 or 6 where you are suffering and your brain has to tap into things you didn't know existed. So I always tell people, don't be upset to suffer. Suffering is a gift. It tells you what you're really capable of, and there's magic in suffering. Like
That's
there's real beauty and magic there that you find out, oh my gosh, there's no way I thought I could ever do this.
it's so
Unfortunately, it's kind of that's true in business too, man. Sometimes we hate this stuff we're going through and at the beginning we're not making any money and we maybe be bankruptcy or the verge of it and we think this is not benefiting me at all. Oh no, no, no. There's a huge benefit. What do you get when you don't get what you want? You get experience. And sometimes that's worth its weight in gold when we don't succeed, when we actually fail first.
man, it's so true. It reminds me of the dark side, like tapping into the human dark side, right? When you have to go to that place where it's dark, but it's productive. David Goggins, I read one of his books fairly recently. He talks about the human governor. We put it on
Yeah.
ourselves, and that the governor, the brain, will kick in much earlier than the body is.
Oh, for
Body's not even thinking
sure.
about it yet. But the
Yeah.
brain is just trying to remain us safe and just conserve energy, back to the alligator brain, right? But here we
Yeah.
are. Then the governor kicks in and we're like, oh, we're tired. Oh, we got to give up. I can't go any further. I can't go one more lap. But yet the body has so much more to give.
You have hours left at that point. You just most people stop when they hit pain. They just shut it down. And whether that's workouts or marriage or business or relationships or whatever, they just shut it down. And we have this risk of this aversion to risk and pain. And I'm like, no, keep driving through that. I mean, it's that willingness. Max Lucado wrote a great book called On the Anvil. And we get on the anvil and we're a piece of metal and we're getting beaten on and hammered on and put through the fire. And our first response is to jump off the anvil and get the heck out of there. And if we will persevere on that anvil, it will beat and mold us into who we're supposed to be. And I think that's a great way to look at suffering. Mother Teresa always said, you'll look back at the end of your life and you'll think suffering was no more than one night in a bad hotel. That's what it will be the equivalent of. It's not as bad as you think it is.
Man, that's so awesome. And I think you alluded to, though, you see a lot of it in business too, right? And maybe it's like you back to being the realist, like being aware of that suffering is the massive opportunity, not the negative side. Maybe that's what's allowed you to take these companies from like no one knows who the fuck we are to actually something, right? Because it's like, hey, I am willing to go to the dark side and do the work required, and my governor's not going to kick in because I believe in the shit.
Mhm. For sure, for sure. I mean, Tony Robbins always says, look, failure shouldn't be your quit point. Failure should be like, great, maybe this is supposed to happen to put you where you're really supposed to be. And this obviously wasn't it. That's fine. You gained experience. You didn't lose anything. Money, oh, I lost money. Money is irreplaceable, believe me. You can lose it and make it. It's not a big deal. But it's that place, that experience. I mean, Abraham Lincoln failed 32 times before he became president. Like he ran for president, lost, bankrupted businesses, bankrupted bank. I mean, he failed consistently, and then he's the president of the United States, and he's regarded as one of the top two presidents that this country's ever had. But up until that point, he was an abysmal failure. But all the experience he gained from all those failures made him the man he was.
Sharpening the iron, baby.
For
Man,
sure.
man, that's good. Um, we talked a little bit in the beginning of the show, and for those that don't know Mark, make sure you follow him after the show. We'll make sure we have his links in the show notes. He's consulted with you've consulted with pretty high level individuals, brother. Like, we've been with Tony on his show, Dr. Oz and their shows. What is I'm curious to get into like your mission. I want to know like the head of Mark here. Like, what is this message that you're trying to get to the average person being on these shows? Because like you said, like the money is one thing, but I can tell for you, man, you're an impact kind of guy. So what are all these technologies? What do they all have in common that you're bringing to the human?
Remove, replenish, recover, my favorite three words. I want to help people remove the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual obstacles in their life. I want to help them replenish their bodies, their minds, their souls, so they can recover their lost goals and dreams. That's it. That's remove, replenish, recover. I've physically, like people say, oh, you're a people person. I'm really not. I'm not a people person. I like dogs. I like a few people, right? Um, Generally, I don't have a great deal of compassion. But if you are in pain, I'll do anything. Like that is where I have compassion on people who are in pain, physical pain, mental pain, spiritual pain. That's where I do have compassion. And I take a shift and I go, okay, I really didn't like you at first, but now I can help you. Like you're suffering, you have back issues. Now I want to show you everything I know can help you. And like I'm real aggressive at it. I'm like, you got to call this guy and you got to do this device and you got to try this stretch and you should try this supplement. Like I'm like in your face about we're going to get you better. Um, so those three words, remove, replenish, recover. And that's every technology interactions. If we can remove our barriers, replenish our bodies and our minds and our spirits, and recover the lost goals and dreams. Why? Because everybody has a lost goal and dream. Everybody has something you wanted to do as a teenager or a child or a 20-year-old, a 30-year-old, and it got too hard, or you put it to the side, or there were too many obstacles, and you had to go get a real job, right? You had to go pay the bills. Look, God has blessed me. I've never had a job where I didn't absolutely love it. I was a college basketball coach. That was my dream. That was my first job after college. I was my dream job, and I thought I'd do that till I died. And then when that went away, I was like, well, now I'm gonna have to get a real job for the rest of my life and just go pay bills.
Mm,
And I got a great opportunity with my best friend to start a company, and that was even more fun than coaching. And then when that ended, I took a buyout and left that business in 2018. I thought, well, okay, I'm two for two, but now I got to go find a real job and work at Walmart or whatever
yeah.
it is. And so I just said, you know what? I've gained all this experience. I might as well help somebody. I'll just start a consulting company and people can hire me and I'll help them grow. And that was fun. And now that's what I'm doing, right? And it's just gotten better and better and better. Um, but all three of those have had that same thing with the same goal in mind. So,
So
yeah.
smart, man. So smart.
And I don't want
Because-
people to settle for that job that they put up with, right? Well, I tolerate my job. Tolerance isn't good, man. Tolerance means you put up with it until you finally explode. That's not good. So I want people to have a job that is their passion. People are like, well, how do I find that? I'm like, okay, what would you do with your spare time if money was no object? Well, I drive race cars. Okay, well, that's your job. Like, well, I'm not good at it. Well, be in that field. Develop cars, market cars. I don't care what it is, just work with race cars. Everybody should do what their passion is.
Yeah, it's man, that's beautiful. I love those three R's too, because I can see that all the way from like you helping the college kids become like, that superstar ball player that they ever wanted to be. You know what I mean? Like it starts there.
For sure.
Um, it's brilliant. So you have a lot of insight, right? So obviously working in college, seeing these technologies, that kind of stuff. I want to get your insight on what you've seen in the industry and then maybe where you see it going, right? So obviously there's been a lot of changes even in the last 4 years. And then I want to look to the future as well. So let's start with the past. Like, how
Yeah.
are you seeing technology in the way like these machines and the holistic lifestyle and how these docs are? How have you seen the industry change in the last 4 years? And I want to go to what you think about for the future as like the optimistic realist.
Yeah, yeah. The technology is definitely going towards automation. We know that. I know, whether it's chat GPT and AI and automation, I don't quite go that far. I always want to rely on my own brain.
Hmm.
AI is only as good as what is fed into it. I think my human brain, God designed a human brain, and I'm only using what a human only lose 5% of their brain power.
Right,
Man, I'd
right.
love to get 95%. So I'm always going to rely on that first because I've been given a gift and I'm going to use it rather than farm it out to a technology or somebody else that's feeding their thoughts into that and I'm using that technology. I want my own thoughts in my own technology. But
Hmm.
automation is, I think, where the industry is going. Where it's been, man. I think again we go back to making a positive out of negative. Obviously, the COVID scam was a negative, right? There is no doubt it was a bad thing.
Hmm.
But what has come to the forefront is now there are more people who have their eyes opened and go, okay, Western medicine, not only is it not helpful, it's in many cases harmful. Like if I follow that advice and if I go and make my nutrition based on the food pyramid, I'm going to die. I'm going to get sick and I'm going to die. Welcome to reality. You have been red pilled. You should not eat the food pyramid. And the same thing. Why chiropractic is so important is because it's the one big hammer we have against Western medicine because it's the biggest industry other than Wetterman that has the most credibility and most power. And that didn't 50 years ago. 50 years ago, people thought chiropractors were quacks. But now most people will realize that chiropractor is not quackery. And I think if you look at the percentage of the top 20% healthiest people in America, I'll bet you overwhelmingly they see their chiropractor more than they see a GP. I'll
100%.
bet you anything,
I
right?
bet. I
Because
bet
it's
so.
holistic wellness that is well care, not sick care, and not management of sick people. It is management of well people to keep them from getting sick. So I think the benefit of where we've been misled for a lot, and now we have more people waking up that are being their eyes open and they're doing their own research and they're saying, what's in the food I'm eating? What's in the products in my home? What's in the clothing that I wear and the car that I drive and the in the 82 vaccines that I'm supposed to sign my 1-year-old up for, and all this stuff that's going on. Doesn't mean that Western medicine is inherently and unredeemably bad. It's getting close to that, but it's become this money grab, keep people sick and make them on the monthly retainer as long as I can keep them sick but not dead. And again, there are many medical doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners who are friends of mine and not in that. They're entrepreneurial, they're well care. One of my favorite medical doctors is a lady named Pat Hopkins that lives in Boston. And she wrote a book called The Unmaking of a Drug Dealer, A Physician's Guide to Becoming a Healer. And she basically said Western medicine has it wrong. We're doing it wrong. And Western medicine has got really, really good and really financially successful at doing the wrong thing. And it's time that they stop doing the wrong thing. And I think in the long run, if you just keep people healthy, you'll actually make more money.
Yeah.
Right? You don't keep them on the sick care, you keep them on the well care, they'll come back to you. And you know what? They'll also bring you other people who they want to be well as well because your stuff works. So that's kind of where we've been and where we're going. I hope we can break out of the grip of the World Health Organization and all the stuff that's so, I don't know, the ruling class right now in medicine. And chiropractic, I think, is it's our last best hope, really, because it has enough power as an organization worldwide to be able to fight that battle and stem that tide and be able to bring more Western medicine people into our way of thinking, right? Into well care. So,
so genius.
automation is cool. I mean, the more things you can automate safely and successfully that doesn't take the practitioner's time, hands, and brain, then I think you're going to be, that's the next wave.
100%. And the consumer is already prone to the automation anyway. They want quick stuff. They want, fast results, instant relief. They want that same world of instant gratification. And I see this come full circle now because out of all the years I've been in the industry and doing the show, I've never thought that chiropractic is the closest thing to like the antithesis of Western medicine, if you will. Right. And so at the end of the day, like for you, that becomes a vehicle to put machines into chiropractic offices, could then to introduce new forms of technology to people because they've already accepted chiropractic. Maybe I'll accept other forms of holistic medicine. And so now that's where this comes full circle.
But you fight that battle even inside chiropractic, which is a phenomenal industry. But I'll talk to some chiropractors on the laser side, right? Off laser, light bed, or whatever. And they say, "Oh no, I just use my hands. I just do manual adjustment." Or okay, I may use manual adjustment and an activator, right? I said, well, okay, like let's say I'm a ditch digger and I'm gonna go dig. I've done 100,000 hours of ditch digging. I'm one of the best ditch diggers in the world because of the 10,000 hour rule. But I can only dig so fast with my bare hands. Somebody picks up a shovel and they're going to beat me every time. Mm-hmm. Well, let's say I just say, okay, I'm really good with the shovel, but I don't need to get any more advanced than that. Well, great. Somebody drives up with a ditch witch, which is a gasoline powered ditch digging machine. They're going to beat the guy with the shovel. So there's always a new technology out there that we can add, and we should not be resistant to say, I just use my hands or I just use this small device and I'm not going to get bigger than that. Why? If there's a technology that can help you get a result for the patient first, faster and more economical than you can do the way you're doing it, then you'd be crazy not to look at it.
Amen, brother. Amen. And it becomes a pride thing, but it also, I think a lot of these guys, like what happens is when you start adding these different things, yes, it completes business, it adds complexity, but like if you do it at the right time, it's strategic. And the also thing is like you see a lot of people in Cairo kind of as it relates to the end of the day, you see people in this industry, they get 30 years down the road, 35, 40 years in the game, and they go to sell their practice and they can't. It's worth nothing because everything relies on your hands. And
they're selling a job.
That's it. It's a personality brand, right?
Yeah. They're not selling an entity. I mean, they're, the remarkable practice, right? Stephen Franson talks about you better start this thing in the mind at the end with an exit strategy, or you'll get 40 years in your career, you'll be broken and beaten, and you'll go to sell it, and something you climb to sell it. And you're like, well, I've got all this money on generating. It's like, right, but somebody has to step in and do the job that you're doing. And you find out this didn't have as much value as I thought. people aren't out there looking for jobs to buy. They can go get a job for free. What they're out there is looking for a business to buy that sends them money without them having to use their hands and their brain and their time. So
Amen.
that's how we do that. And technology is becoming a bigger part of that. Is there ever going to be a substitute for the tactile ability of really advanced chiropractors feeling and touching and moving and manipulating the spine and human body? No, there will never be anything that good. But there can be automation that helps that chiropractor do that in a faster, more efficient way that lets them see more people with their own time. So yeah, we should be open to technology for sure. I mean, look at the technology we're using right now. 30 years ago, we would never have said, oh, we don't ever want to have that kind of technology. I just am fine with a good old conference call,
Yeah,
right?
for
Or a
sure.
fax machine.
Yeah,
It just doesn't make sense.
like 30 years ago, I'd be like, yo, man, I'm gonna we'll take a, yeah, maybe a computer, probably not, but we'll take a train to come see each other in person and we'll
Yeah,
record up, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's so true, man. I love that. And I think that as we continue to look into the future, I mean, a lot of listeners on the show, like, there's so many different options to choose, but I think that as long as it's within the wheelhouse, the patient will accept the care because
For
they're
sure.
just looking for an ultimate result in an uninvasive, non-pharmaceutical way. And so you've also got something new that I want to highlight too, because I also want to be respectful of your time. You've got the back hug, which, speaking of technologies, is quite fascinating.
Pretty
I was
cool.
checking it out, admittedly from a distance at the Ultimate Achievers Club event, but I did want to make sure we talked about that today because
Yeah.
I could tell you're passionate about it, and it seems to be not like something I've seen before in the market.
It isn't. It's a new technology. It's the world's first fully automated robotic physiotherapist for back pain and whole body muscular pain because it doesn't. People say, "Oh, it's a massage." No, massage focuses on muscles. A tight muscle is not tight because of the muscle. A tight muscle is tight because the nerve is firing. And it doesn't matter how much you beat on that muscle. If the nerve doesn't stop firing, it's going to create a trigger point and it's going to stay there or it's going to come right back. So you have to relieve the pressure on the nerve. So the BackHug, mybackhug.com, BackHug is the world's first fully automated robotic physiotherapist. It runs a scan of the back with a low level kind of a static EMG, and it finds tension points in the muscles. And then it takes 26 robotic fingers. So if you imagine, Terminator, when he peels the skin off his hand, he's got the
Yeah.
metal fingers. We got 13 of those running down the left side of the spine, about that far off the spine. We got 13 of those running down the right side. So the fingers are really this close to the spine. They don't go out here in the muscles. And what those do is they push up, curve around, and almost under the spine, and they focus on the back joints, which is the house of pain for muscles, and the nerve roots. And when we focus on the back joints and compress nerve roots and hold that nerve down and relieve the tension in it, the muscular tension, not just in the back, but in the entire body, diminishes and goes away because all nerves go back to their root in the spine, anywhere from the cervical to the lumbar, right? So that's where we focus with this device. And then at the end, it runs another scan and shows the patient how much muscle tension was relieved. So, I think I've done some research on in a 90-minute massage, how much muscular tension do you actually relieve? Regardless of how you feel subjectively, how much muscular tension do you relieve 3 hours after the massage? It's about 8% in a 90-minute massage. I love massage. It feels great. But 3 hours later, I'm kind of back to where I started a lot of times, right? In a 10-minute, what we call a minimum therapeutic session with backache, in 10 minutes, we relieve 38% of muscular tension in the body.
That
So
is great.
more relief, more time. 10's a minimum session. We can do more than that. So it's a very unique device. It's blue ocean. There's no competitor. There's no market. We're creating the market. So it's very new, but it's fully automated. That's the cool part. It doesn't even take a person in the room because the patient finds the device on their app. It's an app. They download the app anywhere in the world they can find a device. They schedule that device on the app. They pay on the app, and then they drive to wherever that location is, and they actually run the device on their app. There are no buttons or controls on the device itself. They run the settings, the intensity level, the focus, if they want heat, no heat, more pressure on the left side than the right side, They want it to zigzag. They want it to be straight up and down. They can control any aspect of that session live in session, change it as they're on it, and it needs no practitioner. It's a fun, and it gives them feedback before and after. Here's what you were before. Here's what you are after. We mirror those and show them the percentage increase and where in the body muscular tension was relieved, just like a static EMG does. So it's a fantastic device. I'm super excited about it, and I don't require practitioners to buy it. If you want one, for a minimal fee, we'll send you one, and then we'll just do a vending machine. I take a small piece of revenue for every minute you do or every session you do, and you keep the majority. It's pretty easy. That way, if the machine breaks, we replace it. There's no warranty. We just swap it out. We come out with new technology with red light installed in it as well. Then we'll swap that out and give you the new one. It just keeps going on and on, because that's what practitioners are about. I'm going to buy this one, and 6 months later, it's going to be something new. I'm going to have an outdated unit. Not with this.
Man, that's cool. That is so cool. What is like the patient experience like? Is it sort of like there's a little bit of magic and pain we talked about earlier in the show? Is it a little painful? Is it not painful at all? Like,
no, I mean, it's got 10 levels of intensity, one
yeah,
being the least, 10 being the most. I don't suggest people start at a 10. When I got my device in my home, the first night I got it, I put it on a 10. That was probably not wise. It was
yeah.
I could feel
Oh,
it the next morning. I mean, I had some little fingerprints on my back, and
you
so
felt
I
good
went
though.
back
You felt
to a
good.
level 6. Oh yeah, feels good. I went back down to a level 6 and built myself back up to a 10. But
Okay.
like when I put something on for the first time, I'm like, what's your level of pressure when you get a massage? Well, okay, we'll start you at a 6 if they're real sensitive. The funny thing is too, we've done thousands of sessions in beta testing before we release this. We found people that pick level 5 to 10 love the device. People that pick level 4 or below are kind of indifferent about it. And I
Hmm.
think it's really because we really start getting into it at level 5, we get some real benefit. So I think
Right.
level 4, you're just kind of touching. You're not really getting into those nerve roots and really compressing and causing much relief. But yeah, it feels good while you're laying on it. It feels as good as any massage you ever have. But the unique thing I get on is people are laying on it and they go, feels really good, but it's not a massage. It's different. And it
Yeah.
is. So it's definitely one of those experience things. Once you experience it the first time, you're in.
It's beautiful. And then with people like using it, like if someone, people who listen to the show, they always consider different equipment, always looking to add on to their stuff, like what would be typical recommendations for something like this if someone had it in their office, right? Is somebody using this once a week for relief? Obviously, it's
Yeah.
situational, but what would maybe be the average recommendation?
Well, the patient drives that. The patient can do it whenever they want, whenever they have back pain or muscular pain throughout their body. I think the way it's going to be incorporated in, so like if I showed you a static EMG before adjustment, and you've
Mhm.
got all these big red arrows coming out one side, and it's unbalanced. You got all this muscle firing on these points, and then I show you an adjustment, and after you've got green arrows that are equally balanced on both sides of the spine, and it looks like that pyramid, right? Like a spine is supposed to look. Which spine is easier to adjust? The one that's all out of whack, or the one that's already lined up really close?
Right.
Well, the one that's lined up very close. So what the BackHug does is it gets you to this almost post adjustment, or much easier to adjust, much less time for the practitioner, an
Hmm.
easier adjustment, a better satisfaction for the patient, and an adjustment that will hold longer. And if there's days where I can't get into my chiropractor is on a beach in Tahiti for 2 weeks, I can go get a back hug and get myself through that 2 weeks. What people are going to start doing is they're going to seek it out just because it feels good, and they feel better when they get off it because we release so much muscular tension, and now their spine is more balanced, and it's got not crazy out of whack muscle firing. So they're just going to seek it out. If they want to do it every day, do it every day. As a practitioner, I'd love my clients to come in and use an automated device that sends me money every day.
For sure.
Fantastic. But as a practitioner, should I have every patient do 10 minutes before I adjust them? Sure. It's going to make your adjustment much easier. And there may be days where they get on BackHug and they don't need an adjustment, right? So you've still made money, equivalent to an adjustment, but it didn't take your time and your hands and your brain. It's automation. Is it
Yeah.
ever going to be as good? No. But you know what? It's better than some of the kids that are just graduated from chiropractic college that don't have any experience yet with tactile ability and they haven't done
Right.
10,000 hours. Maybe it's better.
And it's for the patient, it's extremely, I mean, even for the clinic, it's extremely reproducible. I mean, isn't that one of the hardest things? You add another doctor in there, it's like, oh, well, his hands are different, her hands are different than yours, and then you're
Yeah.
right back stuck in the game.
BackHug is your most trusted employee. It never calls in sick. It never shows up late. It works 24 hours a day around the clock and makes you money while you sleep. And it never asks for time off or vacation. And you don't have to pay it a dime. That's a pretty good employee.
Pretty good employee. It's like, man, that's awesome. I say I saw it at UAC, and I'm like, we have to talk about this because I haven't, like I said, I haven't seen anything like it, and it turns out there is nothing like it. You said the people to find that is mybackhug.com.
Yep, there's a little button on there. People are gonna, we don't sell the device to homeowners. You can't put it in your home. We may do that eventually, but that's not the model. So there's a button on there that says, find out if I can get a back hug for my business, or back hug is right for my business, or inquire about getting a back hug. Click that button. There's a form to fill out that connects them with me, and then we'll show them the cards and show them what it's about. And the good thing is there's no capital equipment outlay. You don't have to go get a finance for a capital equipment or write a big check from your budget for new capital equipment. It's a $2,500 fee to ship it, do all your shipping, your marketing materials that go in your clinic, the banner and all that. And then we run the app for you. So if somebody's in there in your office and they can't make the app work, they're not going to come to your front desk. We have all that. We run all that back office stuff for you. So it literally is, you put it at the vending machine and then we start sharing revenue. Pretty simple.
So cool, man. I'm gonna make sure to link that out for you guys, mybackhug.com in the show notes. Mark, I appreciate you being here. Where else can people find you too if they want to connect with you? Where's the best place?
Yeah, I'm not a social media guy. I know that's strange in this world. And my friends in UAC that are really good at social media are like, you got to catch up, man. And I know, I do. I have a website, NSIA. So the letters were Nancy, Sam, Indigo, Alpha, NSIA consulting at .com, nsiaconsulting.com. That's just a placeholder website for people to find me. I don't do social media off that. I don't broadcast it. It's a place for you to go see a little bit about my background, see what I do. You can also get me on mybackhug.com. You can get me through Aspen Laser, aspenlasers.com, and Theralight.com, Theralight, one word.com. Aspen and Theralight is the same company. We have two different brands, the Class 4 laser brand and the whole body light brand. But you can get me through any of those four websites. You're going to get to me. Yeah, happy to talk about all that. We didn't get much time to talk about light, but it's not the newest thing. But light is 90% of my day is what I spend with Aspen Laser and Theralight. And again, probably the most impactful device I've ever seen in health and wellness. Way more than cryotherapy. More than BackHug, right? Because BackHug's so new, we don't know yet. But light therapy, I've seen the most amount of life change, healing, and impact on people's day-to-day life than I've ever seen with any device. And that means we're working with patients who have diabetic wounds. They're about to lose a foot or a leg, and we can use light and bring that wound back to recovery and not lose a leg. We're working with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and traumatic brain injury patients with laser therapy. We're working with whole body wellness, whether that's pain or skin issues or whatever. It's just so impactful. So it's my favorite. It's where I spend 90% of my day, and it's really my passion is light therapy.
Awesome. I'm gonna link those out for you guys too. A lot of people talk about, and maybe we'll have to do another full episode on it too. But a lot of people talk about laser, like Class 4, and like this just a stunning piece of technology. You've been in that game even longer than most have, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I started in light therapy in 2015,
Okay.
and really learned everything I know from a lady named Valerie Crossan, who's known in the market as the Laser Lady, and she's been in it 20 years, and she's got about as much knowledge as anybody I've ever met, and really taught me everything I know in it. And then Charles Vorwaller, the owner of Aspen Laser, has been doing it for 30 years. So those two as my teachers and mentors, I've just gleaned off of what they've taught me, and then I've put the marketing and business spin on it. Like if somebody wants to do, like Valor and I do some shows together, and she's got the science brain and the nurse brain because she was an RN, and then I take what she says to them and I put it in layman's terms. And then I
Yep.
show them how to grow that as a business. So we're a perfect match in that, a perfect combination. But yeah, I mean, laser is so impactful. What I tell people with a laser is, look, I'll make you a no risk offer. You line up the 12 to 15 worst patients you have. I mean, the worst case scenarios, the most chronic, dilapidated patients you got, bone on bone knee, bone on bone hip, 3 herniations in their back, auto accident, can't turn their neck from 20 years ago, right? Frozen shoulder. I don't care. Bring me the worst of the worst. Line them all up in one day. I'll come in with this laser, and within 10 minutes, I'll have 90% of them pain free. Pain free. Not just, oh, I feel a little better. 0 to 1 in pain out of 0 to 10 scale. And people are like, nah, there's no way. I'm like, what is it going to cost me? I'm like, I won't charge you anything. I'm doing it for, I'll fly all over the country, do a demo day with you for free, not charge you a dime, and you'll know at the end of the day, there won't be any doubt. Doesn't mean that's the result you get with all lasers. It isn't, because I've had docs say that, well, I've got a laser and I don't get those results. I said, well, you got two things. You got the wrong laser and you don't understand how to even use the laser you got. Because that's the other thing we are, is we're very unique in how we treat. We don't use preset protocols because light is dose dependent medicine and not every person gets the same dose. So we have to understand how to give the right dose at the right time to the right person. And like, for example, Jeff, if you came in to see me today and you had pain in your knee and we treated you and you came back in 2 days, you wouldn't get the same dose probably the second day as you did the first day.
Interesting.
It will probably be different because we've extended the healing and we've taken your pain level down and started healing. So you won't need the same dose, right? So that's, the laser world is so muddled right now. I mean, there are 82 different names for photobiomodulation. The technical term for light therapy is photobiomodulation. And that's what we've all agreed to publish research studies in. But there are actually 82 different names for light therapy. So it's been this market of wild, wild west and people just selling products and like, well, we do light therapy. We can get those results. And then you get a laser in your office and you're like, this doesn't do much at all. Like,
Yeah.
this is
Interesting.
supposed to take, right? I just did a demo for a pro baseball team that had a really good quality laser. They've had it for a decade, two of them. One that's in the training room, one that travels with them. And I treated a bunch of players. And I would stop every 10 minutes to go, okay, test your range of motion. How do we feel? And the training staff said, whoa, wait. You're treating them right now and asking for a result right now? And I was like, well, how do you treat? And they said, well, we just keep lasering them. And over time, we trust the science. Like, where have we heard that line lately?
Oh,
Trust the
shit.
science.
Oh, shit.
We just trust the science of photobiomodulation, of light therapy, that eventually it will produce a result. I said, okay, let me tell you something. You guys have a game tonight. You're going to put these players on the field. Do you just trust that eventually they're going to produce a result? Or do you want them to get a hit tonight? And they were like, oh, yeah, they got to produce every night, right? Same thing with my laser. Why shouldn't I expect a result? If I have a quality laser and I know what I'm doing and I'm giving dose-dependent medicine right now, I should see a result right now. And they said, well, I don't know any Major League Baseball trainer on any team that thinks this way. I said, well, I guess you better will be the first. And I said, I know there are 4 others because we have lasers, our laser with 4 other teams. And we have like half the NBA and we have a lot of pro teams. So I said, you guys better adjust how you think because you should get a result if you have a quality product and quality training, just like a player, right? They got to produce every night they step on the field. We don't just say, they're going to get a hit eventually. We'll trust the science.
Right, man. God, that's accurate. So do you guys within that company, like if somebody were to acquire a laser from you guys, do you do the training? Is that part
I'll
of
come
what
back in person and do the training. So I spend all my own money to go out and do the demo day. And then when you buy, I spend all my own money out of what I make. I don't charge you. I come back out and do 8 hours of training in your office with your staff on your own patients. Like, we don't send you a manual that's got a manual that goes with it as a fallback, but I want to come personally train you and your staff to get the results that I get. Because we don't just leave that up to a manual and preset protocols and all the stuff that everybody in the industry does that, by the way. They send you a manual and preset protocols in the machine and you just press knee pain. And whether it's a 12-year-old child or a 25-year-old 110-pound woman or a 350-pound man, everybody gets the same knee treatment.
Yeah.
But the depth of the tissue and the dose they need is all different, right? You would never give a 12-year-old child, a 25-year-old woman, and a 350-pound man the same dose of aspirin or morphine Light is dose-dependent medicine. It's chemical medicine. It's not thermal. It's chemical medicine. So why in the hell would you give somebody the exact same dose to every person? You're going to fail. So you have to give the right dose to the person sitting in front of you at the right time. And that's why we have a success rate that really boggles the industry's mind. They don't know how we do it. We're not secret about it. We're very apparent. We're very obvious, but people don't want to copy it because that's not how it's always been done, right? To them, the earth is flat and they can't conceive of anything but a flat earth.
God, dude, that is amazing. It makes so much sense too, because like you said, like see, people want everything to be plug and play. We talk about automation on the show, but at the end of the day, there's still SOPs. There's still
Right.
rules of operation to the automation, whether that's the patient sitting down on the back hug or the laser light here, right? That's
That's right.
genius.
But
That's
you and
absolutely
I aren't going to get the same treatment. If you put in 10 minutes on a back hug and I put in 10 minutes, we're getting different treatments because your back scan and my back scan are going to show different areas of sensitivity or different areas of muscle firing or
right.
imbalance. In fact, the treatment I get on today's back hug, if I come back in 48 hours, I'm going to get a different treatment then, even if I set it for the exact same amount of time because my back muscles are firing differently. So it's going to
Mhm.
fire. So I love automation, but it's got to be personalized to that person. What the light industry is trying to do is just automate the heck out of it. So a
Yep.
practitioner never has to use his brain again. And every patient walks in, knee osteoarthritis, press that button, they all get the same thing. Well, then you get inconsistent results. You get a 50-50 failure rate. I don't want any failure rate. What's an acceptable failure rate? There is no 1% is unacceptable. I want 100%, right? So that's what we cover. I mean, Don Shula, when he was coaching the Miami Dolphins, every year they led the NFL in the least amount of penalties. And people would sportscasters and broadcasters and journalists would go watch his practice, and he'd go crazy over every mistake. And be like, can't you let some of these things go? There's little mistakes. He goes, there's no such thing as a little mistake.
100%.
Like it translates into the rest of their life. So how did Don Shula lead the NFL in fewest penalties? He didn't tolerate any mistakes.
Right. Because it becomes death by a thousand cups. You know what I
For
mean?
sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
If one mistake
That's
is
how
going to
most failures happen. It's not a catastrophic one-time thing. It's death by a thousand cuts. You've let so much slide so many times that the mountain it now represents is unmountable. You can't get through it.
yeah. Man, that's good. Guys, make sure you check Mark out. Aspen Lasers, Theralight, NSIA Consulting, you name it. This guy's you're even more of a genius than I thought you were.
No. I'm not. Hey, man, I'm not very smart. You know what I did
You
before I
got a lot of
graduated?
passion though, bro. That's
I
why
do.
it's been a fun show.
You know what I did before I graduated from college?
What's that?
I flunked out of college first.
Fair
Like,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't interested in what I was doing. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't go to class. I did a lot of other fun stuff. I didn't go to class. And
Yeah.
then when I figured out what I wanted to do, I graduated with honor and then I got a master's with honor and did all the stuff. But I'm not intelligent. I promise you, if you ask my friends, I'm not that intelligent. I just think that you can persevere through anything. And I do have some God-given abilities that have helped me in spotting things and being blessed to be at the right time at the right place. It's nothing anybody else couldn't do, but I'm blessed to have done it.
Man, well, it's been a pleasure having you on here too. I think there's a lot of value for you guys listening to who are looking to add stuff into your business, you know. So make sure you check Mark out, companies below, and we'll have to do this again, man. I tell you, like,
Absolutely love to.
there's a lot of passion here, and I think next episode we can talk even deeper on like the light side of things because I
For
think that
sure.
it's endlessly deep, and there's a lot of people that are, as you alluded to, using it wrong. If we can help them guide them in the right direction, that's an absolute win.
Yeah.
If you got value, share the show, pay the fee for us, follow Mark, his work. And man, I appreciate you being here, Mark.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure, brother. You guys take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.